everyone, and welcome back to the Bus Drivers Are Out podcast with your host, me, Brian Cullen. So after the premiere of Challenge, Free Agents, I had this chance to speak with Jemmye, who is unfortunately one of the people to go home this week after a very tough battle with Latoya. So we broke down everything about this week's episode, including who she thought was going to be on the season, maybe the format, the grueling opening challenge, and her elimination loss. Plus, we discussed a little bit about our shared love for Friday Night Lights and House of Cards. So you'll get a little bit of all that in just a second. First, let me remind you to follow me on Twitter at BusDriversRoute. Go to BusDriversRoute.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, that will do it for me. So here is Jemmye. All right, so unfortunately not the best of the season for you this time around. How are you feeling after the unfortunate outcome from this week?
I mean, obviously losing sucks. I don't like to lose. I was not expecting to lose that early, even seeing elimination that early. I definitely hated the whole draw a card, take a chance, anybody can go in elimination. I think the only issue with me is prior, like on Rivals, whenever me and Camilla went into elimination, we had a whole day to, think about it, kind of prepare ourselves, kind of get in the game zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have this time. So I definitely think that was my, kind of what hurt me is I didn't have that time to kind of get in the tunnel and kind of figure out what was going to happen. So
right.
It is, I mean, it sucks. Losing always sucks, but the cards were just not in my favor at this time.
No, unfortunately not. So heading into the season, I know once MTV starts making the calls to everyone about who's going to be on, was there anyone that you were expecting to be on this season that actually didn't end up coming on, or anyone that you were surprised to see once you all boarded the plane and headed to Uruguay?
I think that the biggest shock of this season is we all pretty much know who's coming. A lot of people know this Knight was supposed to come on this season, but because of what happened with him and Frank, he ended up not coming. So I think that was, for me, the biggest shock is like, oh my God, I'm finally going to be in a situation where Knight's not involved. So it was kind of weird because he's always been on TV with me, or he's always been in these situations with me.
Right.
So it was a weird feeling, but it was also nice. Like, I don't have to deal with Knight this time around. Yeah,
I was going to ask, because it's kind of like your first time to really be out on your own, to be yourself, and not have to always be connected to everything you do with Knight. So it's unfortunate you didn't have this opportunity to kind of craft your own narrative as in the challenge universe as anything else just being connected to Knight.
No, I totally agree. That was kind of what sucked about leaving first. I really didn't get to experience, that was kind of my thoughts as well. So definitely I think that was the biggest, but everyone else I kind of knew was coming. I was expecting, because we kind of all talked. We try to figure out what we're getting ourselves into before we go.
Mm-hmm. So just on that, where do you guys stand now? Because obviously you're not together, but are you friendly, or do you have animosity towards him? Like, what's kind of your situation with him now?
I don't think there's any animosity. I wouldn't say we're friends. I don't really talk to him. But, I mean, there's also not any animosity. I mean, if we saw each other, I mean, whenever we see each other, like challenge or MTV-related stuff, we always hang out. But that's the only time we ever hang out or talk is when we're kind of brought together by MTV.
Okay. All right. So once you get there, what's everyone's thought about what the season's going to be? I'm sure you all were coming up with predictions about what was it going to be. So what were your thoughts and what was everyone else's?
I think a lot of us was expecting rookies versus veterans.
Yeah, that was actually what leaked originally. A lot of people thought that was going to be the season.
I mean, I think that's really what we all thought it was, or possibly a duel.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, they called us completely off guard, but we thought with the cast that was, all of us that was there, we're like, this is either rookies versus veterans or a duel. We never thought that they were going to bring a new complete game into the mix.
So were you excited to have it be individual and not have to rely on someone? Were you excited to kind of be out on your own, or were you a little nervous?
As far as the free agents individual game, I was excited. I was totally okay with that. The draw was my issue. If it was just the free agents game, kind of played the same where we still voted someone in.
Just where we last one in.
Yeah, kind of like that. That's the whole draw, the luck, the whole lottery. That was kind of, that made everybody nervous. No one liked that, especially not people who knew that they could play a strong political game. And I knew that I was finally in the chance after coming off making it to the finals, that I could finally have a political game because this had been a couple challenges in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of taken off the table at the very beginning. So that sucked.
Yeah, I could see from your standpoint that would be very nerve-wracking, but as a viewer, just watching that first draw, it really created a good sense of tension and drama that, we really kind of been lacking recently. So as a viewer, I think we like it, but I can see why you being
No, I totally agree. As someone watching the challenge, I think the idea is dope. I think it's one of the smartest ideas they've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely I know why they did it, and I think it was very smart, and I think it's going to provide for an interesting season.
Mm. So it seemed like the house this year was maybe the best one they've had in a very long time. Is that the case? Is this the nicest house you were in?
Yes, his house was huge. It was, amazing. I'm sure you're going to be able to see in future episodes. We're right on the ocean. It was literally the biggest, most amazing house we've had. However, big houses can cause problems for production.
Mm-hmm.
Because, our rival's house, it was pretty small, so production
Yeah.
could get from point A to point B to point C, and get what's happening. You can't get anything past them. In this house, it was really big, so, it was a nice house from a production standpoint. I'm surprised they even put us there because you could be on a totally different end of the house doing something, and production would have to, it would take them a minute to get there. So it was a nice house, but way too big for to film something like this.
Did you notice that there were maybe more camera people around than usual?
That's the thing. It was pretty much the same. So they were literally just I felt bad for them, actually, because that house was huge. Mm-hmm. So if something's going on at the, one end of the house, it's I can't even describe how big it was. So it was, I was really shocked when we got there to see how much room we had. Because our rival's house, we were literally on top of each other 24/7. So it was nice just to have a big, open, free house from a cast perspective.
And I remember last year a lot of people were complaining that they didn't turn the AC on for a while to make it really hot and get you guys agitated. Was that the case this time around? Was it hot again in the house?
That's the thing. Uruguay was not. It was actually cold outside. When we did that, the promo, for the when we're all in our bathing suits and we took the big cast picture together.
Mm-hmm.
It was 50 degrees when we did that. So, yeah, it was freezing at first in Uruguay the first couple of weeks. So we did not have the same issue that we had in Thailand because Thailand was miserable.
So in the house, obviously we saw in the elimination round everyone was cheering for you, especially even Camilla. So was there anyone that you felt was kind of gunning for you? Did you have someone that you thought was targeting you in the house?
Not at all. That's kind of coming in after a final. I kind of knew that I wouldn't really have those issues. There wasn't a lot. Really, it was just me and Camilla. Everyone kind of knew that we had each other's backs and that we kind of came into the game together. So I wasn't really worried about that at all, not this early in the game. That's something I knew I wouldn't have to worry about till, towards the end, so to speak.
Okay, and I saw for the first challenge, I know you all were wearing jerseys and stuff like that, but why do you all have numbers on the back of your jersey? What is that for?
I have no clue. They gave us all a number. I don't know if it's going to play more perspective toward the end, but they literally just gave us all a number. We didn't get to pick that number. Literally, when we got our jerseys from production, that's the number that we had. So I have no clue.
I thought maybe they'll actually start selling jerseys from this, and that way everyone will have their own number to sell. So
yeah, it was real. Yeah, I don't really know how they came up with the numbers. They didn't let us pick them. So yeah, it was interesting when they just gave us a jersey and we had a number on it.
So for that opening challenge, it seemed like it was one of the tougher ones they've ever had for just a regular challenge. So how did your team decide what position you would be on? I know you ended up on the heights. Is that something that you wanted to do?
I think that kind of none of the other girls were going to do it besides Camilla and I. We were the only two that would willingly do it. Mm-hmm. And I would rather fall off a building than run up 42 flights of stairs any day of the week. And
it seemed like
the last time,
spot to be in was the second.
The puzzle?
The puzzle. That seemed like.
No, I agree. Even though it's 4 people, you just need one person that's good at puzzles, and the other 3 really could have just stood there. However, last time I saw a puzzle, it left me stranded on an island, not going to finish the final. So I did not want anything to do with that. Honestly, I knew none of the other girls would do it. I knew that Camilla wasn't scared. I'm not the biggest fan of heights, but I knew that I was the only one besides Camilla that would actually give it a try and actually, do it. So I kind of just took one for the team.
So Camilla was able to do it, but you unfortunately couldn't make it across the log. So how difficult was it with the wind and having to look down to grab the flag because that throws off your balance? How difficult was getting across that log?
It was hard, especially I think like, I don't know, it's more of the balance, because it was constantly rolling, so it was just kind of the balance and the wind. I don't know, it was just literally, it was crazy, like, how Camilla got across was insane, but it was literally a kind of take your luck and either go slow or run fast and just hope you don't fall type of thing. It's just kind of one of those close your eyes and see what happens.
Yeah, she killed it.
She really did.
And then before the deliberation, we saw a lot of them debating about whether to throw in a weak person or maybe a strong person. And I thought Bananas had the best point that, you know, you may be in a team now, but that literally is going to be gone the next day if you all be individual challenge tomorrow. So if you were in their spot, would you have looked to target maybe throwing in a Laurel or Cara Maria, someone a top competitor, rather than, you know, a rookie like LaToya?
This is the thing. At the very beginning, they were trying to make a team decision, and the red team was kind of laughing at it. I'm like, these idiots don't even know that they can, like, they vote individually. Like, you don't have to say whoever anybody else vote for. We saw them, they kept deliberating. We're like, why don't they just make individual decisions? But I know the red team, I know that Frank and Zach and Chet, and, you know, I heard them, like, before. I know that they would have made a power move. I definitely believe if the red team would have won, a power move would have been made.
That's what especially for the girls' standpoint, I think the only way to play it is to just throw in Laurel every single time.
Yeah, no, I agree.
To the end, you're not going to win, so you might as well just try to take her out.
No, I totally agree. But it's also, too, you got to realize that once you start doing a lot of these, you start having, like, respect for these people, and you kind of feel like you know, like, I don't know if I could have thrown Cara Marie in because, you know, we were on rivals together the whole time. You kind of build respect for these people, so it's hard to make the hard decisions in the beginning. It's smart, you know, game-wise, but we do create these, like, bonds, these friendships, and we do feel loyal to each other to a certain extent.
Okay. Yeah,
so it's always easy to throw in the person that you just met 2 days ago on a flight.
Exactly. So before your elimination, we saw Chet and Frank, and Chet quit after busting up his chin. And the most shocking part to me was seeing TJ let him off pretty calmly. It was just like, no worries. But what was everyone else's reaction to him bowing out and quitting? Were you all shocked and disgusted that he would just leave like that?
I mean, a lot of people were because, it's a game. You came here to play. No one wants to see something happen like that. But in Chet's defense, it was really bad. If he would have kept going, it would have just got worse because, you know, it's an open wound. A Band-Aid's not going to stop it. He needed a lot of stitches. And a lot of people don't know this. A hospital was 2 hours away. Like, we were in the middle of nowhere. So I think that he made the right decision because it was an issue. It wasn't going to get better. Frank was going to continue to hit him. Who knows when he would have got to a hospital? Who knows what kind of hospital he would have gotten to once he got there? I mean, sometimes, you know, in foreign countries, the hospitals aren't the best. So I think that as bad as it sucks, I think he made the right decision. I mean, when he got home, I know he had to go see, like, a plastic surgeon. He had to get a lot of stitches. Like, it was an issue for him for a couple of weeks. So no one wants to see someone quit. However, I think Chet made the right decision.
That's shocking that a hospital is that far away, especially with, like, LaToya, who seemed like a very scary
Exactly.
person. She had to go 2 hours before she saw us.
She was when we were in the city, she was fine, but where our house was and where the elimination rounds were a couple hours. Yeah, so he was, like, far away. Like, he really and he knew how far away he was. He knew that he was 2 hours away from civilization, so to speak. So, I mean, it sucks, and I don't think Chet is a quitter. I mean, we've seen him on challenges before. I don't know. I just think he made the right decision. I mean, he wasn't happy with that decision. He didn't want to quit. He didn't want to go out like that. But at the end of the day, he has to look out for himself.
So then we saw your elimination with LaToya, and like we mentioned, you pulled the kill card and you were forced to go in. But I had to imagine you were still feeling pretty confident going against a rookie LaToya. You know, she's new. She's probably nervous. You had to be pretty confident going into this, right?
I don't know. I don't underestimate anybody. Just because LaToya has never done a challenge doesn't mean she doesn't know how to, you know, I don't take that into perspective. Like, oh, she's never done this. I've done this before. I never think of it like that. You never know what someone's going to do. I would rather be going against someone like that I've seen do a challenge before, but I didn't know anything about LaToya. I didn't know what her strengths and her weaknesses were, so I didn't really see it like that. I didn't think that I had any ups above her or anything. I felt like we were very equal that day.
It seemed like the best way to do it was what LaToya was doing a lot of, like, misdirection, kind of going one way, going the other. And it seemed like you were more, like, trying to, like, go through or go over powers. Do you think that's maybe what led to her, that she had a little bit better strategy for that type of challenge?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I really didn't watch it the other day either because it was kind of annoying. I didn't want to see it. Mm-hmm. So I really cannot. I don't know if that, because in that time, like, once you're doing it, you don't really think. You're just like, let me do this. It's kind of a second nature type of thing. So I don't know. I don't know if things could have happened differently, if I would have done things differently, if she would have done things differently. I don't know. I'm not one to really dwell on a loss.
Mm-hmm.
I had the athlete's mindset. At that day, she was better. The next day, I could have been better. It's just at that day when it mattered, she was better.
Yeah, and I think you did gain a lot of respect from not only just the performance that you guys had, but just the way you exited. You're very. A lot of people we see leave and they're throwing a temper tantrum, but you were very classy, and I think a lot of people appreciated that because, fortunately, with this group of people, we don't always see that. So it was good to see someone like you kind of, give the person one credit and you'll be back. So I think it was very appreciated from everyone.
You have to know how to lose just the way, like the same way you know how to win. It's no different. A lot of people, my Twitter was blowing up with people telling me, and I didn't even think of it. Even when I kind of watched me leaving, and I didn't even think that that's just how I always lose. I can, if you beat me, I'm going to say, you beat me, here, congratulations. Like, I'm not a sore loser, and I just think that's, too, being an athlete. I've won as many games, and I've lost as many games. So you have to know how to lose just as well as you win. That's kind of a golden rule, I think.
So this
my Twitter was blowing up with that. Yeah. People were, like, really in shock. And I guess I never thought about it, but most people do leave pissed off at the world. But I had no one to be mad at but myself. Like, at the end of the day, it all fell on my shoulders.
Yeah. So this isn't the end for you, right? After this, you can't go out on this, right? You'll be back future season?
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. That's not the way I want to see my challenge career end. However, I never say never. I'm never going to sit here and be like, I'll never be back, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'll be back for the next one. I really don't know. It all depends on what's going on in my life when I get that call.
Mm-hmm. So if we play the what-if game a little, let's say you lasted a little bit longer with now Knight's not there, so you are a little more free. Was there anyone that you had your eye on a little bit? Because obviously with last season we potentially saw something with Leroy, but that didn't happen. So was there anyone that you thought of potentially you could be hooking up with or getting together with on this season?
It's funny. When I come in these challenge houses, I see it as like a business trip. Like, yeah, it's fun and games. At the end of the day, it's a business trip. And anybody knows that if you're at work and you bring in a love affair, all it does is complicate the situation. So not really. None of those challenge guys are really the type of guys I date in real life. So I'm not going to date them in, challenge house. It's just, there's a lot of those guys are really attractive. The Leroy, Jordan. There are attractive guys in that house, but they're just not my cup of tea. I don't think I could really date a guy that does TV like that. As crazy as that sounds, because I do it, but I'm just not really into the guys that do it.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can get that. So I have to ask you about last season, the great catch-up incident of Rivals 2. So just what is it that you just can't deal with ketchup? Is it the taste, the smell, what is it?
I have no clue what it tastes like. People always assume, you don't like ketchup, you must like blood. And I'm like, no, idiot. It has nothing to do with that. Blood does not bother me. It's the smell.
The smell?
It's the smell. Something about it literally just like freaks me out. So it's really the smell more than anything. It's not the texture. It's not the color. I don't have no clue what it tastes like. It's literally the smell.
Wow. Because that's probably one of the more memorable moments of that season with Knight putting ketchup on you and seeing you freak out.
Yeah, I was not happy.
Yeah. So now there's a couple of tweets I want to ask you about you had the other night after your loss. You mentioned that even though you were barely on the season, that you still got paid more than a lot of the people. And so I know a little bit more about the payment structure, but can you explain a little bit about how it works? Because it's not only the first and second and third place people make money.
I really can't talk a lot about the money situation just because we're under contract. Mm-hmm. But, you have to assume that certain valuable people make more. Like, that's just common sense in anything. The more value you have, the more money you're going to make to show up to do something. Right. So, it doesn't take, you're smart. You know which one of us make good money to show up, especially some of the veterans and especially some of us new kids like Frank, Zach, Nani, and me. Like, it's not equal pay opportunity. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. And I also saw that you tweeted that because even though you went out early, that actually worked out beneficially for you because this helped launch your book deal. So what exactly happened with that?
Literally flew from Uruguay to New York to film the Dr. Oz show. And when I was there, actually, in New York, I had a couple meetings set up through Dr. Oz. He told me if I come to help him, do the show for him, that he would put me in contact because he knew that I was interested in writing a book. So he put me in contact with a couple people, and that's kind of when the whole book became a reality. I met with some editors, kind of signed on. And I really can't talk a lot about it now. However, this summer I can talk more about it, and it should be out, we're shooting for fall. No promises, because with the book you never know.
Right.
And that's kind of a lot of people. I can't tell you. I can't think of anything like that. I can't tell you kind of. It's kind of a life according to Jemmye. It's kind of just things I've gone through, how I've handled the situations. With of course it's going to have my crazy fun stories and my commentary, but it's just kind of a fun. This is how I've dealt with things. I hope this helps you deal with things type of book. It's interesting.
Okay. And then you also have your website, right? Katie Girl Boutique?
Yes, the boutique is still going. I'm actually in the process of finding a place in New Orleans. I think I'm gonna keep the online boutique, but I think I'm gonna open an actual boutique in New Orleans as well. So I'm actually in the process of finding a place, and hopefully my goal to have that open running is by August. My birthday. So yeah.
What was the motivation behind starting that? Where does the Katie Girl come from? What's the story behind that?
People always wonder why Katie Girl. They're like, where did you get that from? Anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Sex and the City fan. And in one episode, Carrie makes a reference to a movie, The Way We Were. It's a 1973 Barbra Streisand movie. And in that movie, she says there's two types of girls in the world, the simple girls and the Katie Girl. So a Katie Girl is just the more complex. She's not easy to figure out. So it's just kind of a play off of that movie and the Sex and the City reference. Just Katie Girl is a more complicated type of female.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that comes from.
All right, so then that'll lead me away from the challenge because, like we mentioned, we have to talk about our mutual love for Friday Night Lights.
The best show ever.
The best show ever. So
I actually have on a Friday Night Lights shirt right now as we speak.
I have one of those too, a Clear Eyes Full Heart shirts. That's what I have.
Yeah, I have that. I have the Panther football. I have a lot of Friday Night Lights wardrobe.
So were you an original watcher? Because I didn't start until the series ended. I watched it all on Netflix. But were you when it was on?
I did. I used to watch it when it would come on Friday nights. So I watched it from the beginning. So
who was your favorite character?
I think this is a thing. I'm a Tim Riggins and a Matt Saracen fan. So literally, like some days I think I'm like in love with Tim Riggins, and other days I think it's Matt Saracen. So literally, just I love those two. I hate Lila Garrity though. She is the worst thing ever.
I love Saracen. I loved Julie, Amy Seeger, and I always.
Yes, and then Tammy Taylor. I think Tammy Taylor is the coolest woman on earth. I always say I just need to move to Texas and marry a football coach so I can be Tammy Taylor.
Mr. and Mrs. Coach. You can be Mrs. Coach. You
right.
Counselor.
Living the life.
So I don't think it's probably going to happen. But do you hope a movie happens, or are you happy with the way it ended?
I wouldn't mind seeing a movie, but in my mind, Tim Riggins is now like head football coach of the Dillon Panthers, and Tyra has transformed into a Tammy Taylor. That's kind of how I picture things happening in my in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they've kind of taken over. But I'm the type of person, if there can ever be a movie for something I'm obsessed with, then yes, even if the movie doesn't live up to my standards or what I wanted to happen, at least I got another hour with some of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
so yes, I'm always. If they can bring everyone back, then fuck yes, do it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it, but just to get back to see Mr. and Mrs. Coach, seeing Saracen, even if they were just like 5-minute segments, like for whatever, I just love seeing them, so I don't even care.
No, I agree. I'll be watching on Netflix way too much.
Yeah. And so you also were almost done with House of Cards, right?
I actually just finished.
Okay,
I didn't know there were just 2 seasons. I thought there would be more, so I finished it on accident.
Yes, we gotta wait till like next year probably. I think it's dropped in like February this year, so you have to wait.
I'm not very happy about that. Like,
good.
It is so amazing. Like the dialect is my favorite part. Like, oh my god, no, I'm obsessed with House of Cards now.
Yeah.
Just sad that I finished it so quickly.
So maybe start a new website you'll call like Frank Underwood Boutique.
Oh my God, I hate Love with Frank. Him and Claire are fucking evil, but I love them. I can't help it.
It's a great show. Same with Friday Night Lights, but this is a lot of fun. It was good finally getting a chance to talk with you. I hope this isn't meant for you.
Maybe we can talk later on as the season goes on.
Absolutely, I would love to. It's great. Where can people find you on Twitter and all that? Where can people find you and all that?
Just Jem24.
All right, perfect. All right, Jemmye, thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. There it is. The Bus Drivers Are Out podcast for episode 1 of the Challenge Free Agents is in the books. Hope you enjoyed hearing from Jemmye. I certainly hope we will see her again in future seasons. But before I wrap things up for today, just to remind you once again to follow me on Twitter at BusDriversRoute. Go to busdriversroute.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, that will do it for me. So until next time, have a good one.